Hello. Today I would like to introduce to you, or to some of you, and because I realize that some of you have learned this before, but the present perfect verb tense. And I'm going to be using examples that are related to the tourism industry. So let's look. Hold on here. Okay, so this might be a conversation that you would hear or that you might participate in. Have you ever visited Granby before? The tourist answers, I've already visited the zoo, but I have never gone to the Paklayamaska. Is it nice? The guide responds, it's lovely. If you have never gone there before, I suggest a visit today. What I would like to show you is why we use these structures in our conversation. So you might ask yourself, well, I can already communicate. Why do I have to learn this verb tense? And I will tell you, it's the hardest verb tense in the English language to learn how to use properly. The tense does not necessarily translate well from French into English. If you have grown up speaking Spanish, you'll find it much easier, but it's a challenge. So let's look at some examples. I have traveled to Mexico twice in the last 3 years. She has been a student at the Cégep de Granby for 3 years. As I read these examples to you, try to think what is happening that I have to use the verb tense in this verb tense in these sentences. I will get to the rules in a moment. In fact, we'll start with the most basic rule, which is that we use the present perfect to describe an action that occurred, which means happened, or did not occur at an unspecified moment in the past. And that's very important, unspecified moment in the past. She has already taken her vacation this year. So here she is, or she's not there, but there she is at the beach, taking a picture of the beach. We have never gone to China. We also use the present perfect in that same idea to talk about experience, to have the experience of doing something. Patrick has traveled to Africa, which means he has the experience of being in Africa. We haven't eaten sushi before, which means we do not have the experience of putting sushi into our mouths. Sonia has already taken the train alone. So it means she has the experience of being on the train. Oh, there she goes. We also use it to talk about accomplishments, but again, with no specific time. I have finally finished planning my trip. That means maybe I started a couple of weeks ago. I looked at the prices, I looked at the destinations, I did some research, and now I'm ready. I have finally finished planning my trip. They have arrived at their destination. So maybe they left from Montreal and they were flying to Shanghai and they had to have a stopover in Chicago, and after several hours they have arrived. There they go. We also use it to talk about uncompleted actions that you are expecting. I still haven't bought my tickets yet. So I think that maybe I'll buy my tickets tomorrow, but I haven't got them yet. Have you gone swimming at the new pool yet? Can you think of another reason maybe why we're using this verb tense? Notice the key words. And in fact, there's another key word here that I haven't indicated. We can also use the present perfect to talk about multiple actions at different times, but again, the time is not specified. So I have visited New York City at least 5 times. She has gone to Europe 6 times, but she has never gone to Asia. Do you have any ideas yet why I use the present perfect? There's another major rule. We use it to talk about an action that started in the past and is continuing until the present. So they have known each other for 6 months. What that means is they met each other 6 months ago and they still communicate. They're still friends. So they have known each other. Or she has been in Portugal since December. Now it's February, so that means she has been there for 2 months. So let's look at the difference between for and since. We use for to announce a length of time, and so we see that we use it with a number for 2 weeks, for 3 minutes, for 5 days, etc. And since tells us when the action began, since last Saturday or since August. I cannot use since with a number, so I cannot say since 3 days. That's incorrect in English. So how do I form the present perfect? I have to obviously have my subject, pronoun, or it could also just be a subject without being a pronoun. And I have an auxiliary, which is have or has. Remember, I use has when my subject is he, she, or it. And then my main verb is in the past participle form. So the past participle form, if you have a regular verb, you just add ed, like in the simple past. However, if you have an irregular verb, then it's that famous third column of verbs that you maybe have had to learn or maybe not. For example, if I say go, went, gone. Gone is the third column. See, saw, seen is the third column of verbs. To make a negative or a question, again, I'm going to use the same auxiliary, but to make a negative, I put the adverb not on my auxiliary. I have not or haven't. I haven't visited. Or she has not hiked in Spain. She hasn't hiked in Spain. And to make questions, we follow the same structure that we have seen before. Maybe a question word, the auxiliary, subject, verb, and the rest of your sentence. We often just call it the object. So, how many times have you visited Vienna? Or how often has she hiked in Spain? We will focus on making questions at another time because they're tricky, but at least you have seen a basic idea. So let's practice. I go Montreal twice this month. I want to put my verb into the present perfect. So I'm going to say, I have gone to Montreal twice this month. In this example, what it means is that this month is not finished. And indeed, today is February 6th, so we still have a number of days before the month ends, which means there's a possibility that I might go to Montreal again. She see the Picasso exhibit. So I want to make this into present perfect. Say she has seen the Picasso exhibit. And I use this one because I use the verb tense, the present perfect in this example, because it means that an unspecified time in the past. We don't know when she went to see the Picasso exhibit. It's just that she has had the experience of seeing the Picasso exhibit. We have not, this one's negative, nice weather this month. I want to make this into a present perfect. This is a trick question because have is my auxiliary, but in fact, it's going to be my main verb. So I'm going to say, we haven't had nice weather this month. Very tricky. This is just a reminder of why, or perhaps the difference between the simple past and the present perfect. Remember that we use the simple past to talk about an action that started and finished at a specific time in the past, even though I might not mention the time. They went to Toronto last weekend. It snowed all day Sunday. So I do mention the time here, but we know the action is finished, it started, it's done. So that's why I want to use the simple past. Oh, there's my snowflake. And I also want to point out the difference between the simple present and the present perfect. Remember, we use the simple present to talk about basic facts or habits, routines, etc. For example, I know them. It's just a fact. But in this one, I have known them for 4 months. It means I met them 4 months ago and we still know each other. A good indication is my word for plus my time period. Or she works in the tourism industry. It's a fact. She works in the tourism industry. But in this one, I'm putting an emphasis more on the time and that she continues to work there. She has worked in the tourism industry since she was young. So it's a difficult verb tense to learn how to use properly. Don't stress out over learning it. We will practice a lot. Try, though. We'll practice in class, and you can try with other people if you have an opportunity to speak English outside of class. Make sure that you can learn the irregular past participles. You have a list in your grammar book. Of course, you can see me for help, or you can go online and find exercises. And I recommend that you begin really to observe the English language. That when you are listening to people, or if you're watching a series, listen carefully to how they speak, and you will hear that people are using the present perfect. So keep calm and carry on. Thank you for listening today, and enjoy the rest of your day.